Viewer discretion is advised.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the New to Wrestling podcast After Dark. I am extremely excited tonight. I don't even know how I'm going to get through this without sweating, fainting. I'm not sure, but I am extremely excited to welcome our second guest on the podcast. Like an absolute thrill. My heart is beating so fast. This is such an honor. We have the Poisoned Youth, okay? The Stray, okay? We have Robert Martyr in the house tonight with us, everybody. I mean, come on.
Hey.
Hello
Yeah,
and welcome to the New Wrestling Podcast. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. Came from a great training session, and now I'm here at my humble abode to talk to you guys about pro wrestling. So I'm
Thank
really
God.
excited.
It's a 24-hour job over there.
Yeah, yeah. It's life is nuts, y'all. Right? I feel like life is nuts. I might be the only
Oh, for
person that.
Oh, no.
for sure, straight up macadamia over here. Uh,
Ridiculous.
I gotta say, Xavier, I love your background. So professional, better than whatever I have going on.
Oh, thank you, thank you. I'm very fortunate to my everyday job is also editing other people's podcasts. So I have the fringe benefit of having a space in which I get to set up all my like little wrestling stuff. And so thank you. I really appreciate that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, I'm in the attic apartment, so I got the slanted ceilings. It's kind of very Hobbit.
It's a vibe, though. It's a
Thank you.
vibe.
Thank you.
This is like I got prison boneyard out here.
It fits. It's perfect. It's all is welcome here. Safe space.
Yeah, tough guy, tough guy. Got to have that,
That
cool
brick.
background.
That
Yeah.
exposed brick. You need the brick, okay? I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much. We know that you are so busy. You are all over the place doing so many amazing things with your incredible career. And just before we even get started, I hope this isn't uncomfortable, but I really want to give you your flowers. I mean, I truly believe I'm so impressed with your workmanship, the way that you wrestle, the way that you're able to sell the emotions, like it really is like something so incredible to watch, especially like as we know, the premise of the show is that I am new to wrestling and I'm just experiencing wrestling for the first time um within the last year. And like watching you are so engaging. You tell a story with every match. I really feel like you have such incredible chemistry with almost everyone that I've seen you with, and I know that that can be tricky. Like when you're wrestling with people you don't always train with, I really have to give you your props. Like you have such an amazing brand, an amazing story. Like I'm just absolutely I know Xavier feels the same. Like we're just absolutely honored to have you here. So.
Absolutely, and I think the biggest thing for me is I always take whatever's happening in life and I let it in the ring. That's my biggest like. It's I almost allow things bad to happen in my life so I can use it in wrestling. It's a kind of a weird dichotomy. Not in a bad way, just whatever happens, I try to use that passion and put it into something positive. So when you say like I almost take real pain and bring it into my matches. Like and a lot of it is not even me, selling. It's more of me just getting hit because I just like that stuff. I'm a crazy guy.
Mhm.
But but yeah, I appreciate it. It really means a lot. Wrestling, I've been doing this since 23 now. Uh, old. I started when I was 14. So
Wow.
um,
Wow.
yeah, and I had my first match at 14. So that's going on 9 years almost.
That's
I'm,
crazy.
if I'm doing my math.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that's thank you so much. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Old is crazy because the two of us are 30. So we're basically disintegrating by those standards, which is fine.
Wow.
Oh man, well my 15-year-old sister begs to differ. Okay, I'm not even caught up with
Mm,
that.
Yeah.
I
She
hear
begs to differ. I am an ancient
an ancient
human.
A
being.
relic at
Yes,
this point.
A
a relic at this
relic,
point. And
yeah.
my mother is a far gone of a different past that is
Yeah.
inconceivable to the human mind.
Right.
It's a miracle we can still perceive her. We're so grateful.
But yes, it's really interesting. Somebody who started watching wrestling so early is so good at perceiving and understanding. It takes a lot for anyone to get into a medium and appreciate it at that level. I think like I treat wrestling as any other medium. I'm a film student. So
Mhm.
before wrestling, I wanted to do film. And if you go on my Twitter, all I basically produce my own films through wrestling.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's like I perceive wrestling as if I were to perceive not only just a live fight like UFC or boxing, but I also translate it into like art house films like A24 or Martin Scorsese films like
Mhm.
The Raging Bull. I love stuff like that, and I love
Mm.
mixing those things and combining them in wrestling. I think that to me when you bring art and competition and you just make it one thing, that's wrestling to me. So
Right.
I think you can't do that in anything else.
No, yeah, I was gonna say
Mm.
that's like for me at least, like that's such the draw for wrestling for me is that it is like the only medium that I know that is just so many avenues at once. It's a live show, like it's like sport, it's like theater in the round, like it's so I don't know, it's just something that like it you don't really replicate in any other kind of
It's irreplicable. Like you cannot replicate it. People that take elements of what we do are
Mhm.
still like, how do you do this?
Right,
Because you have to
Mm.
understand, it's also a extended live action sequence with no cuts.
right.
If you really think
Mm.
about it.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
if you, I've been on sets where they do action sequences and they'll miss a punch and be like, oh, well, do it again. That didn't look good. And
Right.
then we can't do that. It's
It's
I can
gone.
be like, hey guys, sorry, we're not doing
Hold
that
up.
again. You
Yeah,
know what I
so
mean? It's
sorry.
not, no. It's like and I I'm starting to really appreciate um as weird as it sounds, I really appreciate my own craft because
Mm.
I don't give myself enough credit on how hard this shit is. Like, I don't give I'm like, oh, I feel like anybody can do this, and then I realize like people try, and they really do try. We actually had I was at a training session maybe 2 weeks ago, and it was this kid, man. He was about 15, 16, and he was the biggest inspiration for me because he's probably the toughest SOB I've ever seen because he has a bone deficiency where his bones are a lot weaker than everybody else's.
Mm.
So when he takes a bump, he is in excruciating pain.
Wow.
Excruciating pain. Like you don't understand.
Mm.
It's hard to watch almost.
Mm.
And we're almost to the point where it's like I don't know if he could continue to be a wrestler because of this deficiency, but he won't stop. He will continue to
Mm.
do it. He said, "I will have at least one match before I'm done."
I
And
love that.
it's like I get emotional thinking about it because it's like, have you guys seen oh my god, it just came out with Zac Efron. What is it called, guys? They're gonna eat
Oh,
me alive. They're
the
gonna eat me
wrestling movie
alive.
about the Von
The rest,
Erichs.
the Von Erichs. Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, what is it? Ah, that
Iron Claw.
movie. What? Iron
Ironclaw.
Claw.
Xavier, you win.
There it is.
No, we haven't yet. We're waiting till we're, like,
Okay,
together to
okay.
actually get to do it.
I'm not going to spoil it at all, but there is somebody in that that has a deficiency similar to that. That's all I'm going to say. And once you watch that movie, you're going to understand how painful this stuff is. But
Mhm.
yeah, thank you so much. You don't understand. Like, I don't do that many podcasts just because I
There's
have
8,000,000 of them.
there's 800 million of them. But when I do a podcast, I make sure that it's one I want to be on, and this is one I want to be on. So
Thank you, man.
very
Really
excited.
appreciate that.
Oh man, that means
Yes.
it's fine.
Um, I'm always really curious as, like, what was your, like, intro to like, when was wrestling, like, presented to you?
My grandmother, my abuela, she was a photographer for a promotion called AAA
Mhm.
back in the day, which is listed on what we're gonna
Right.
watch later.
Mhm.
She was a photographer, so she would take pictures of the wrestlers, and she would do that as a side job. So over time, being a photographer for so long, she would get VHS tapes and collect them. And
Mm.
those VHS tapes she would save, bring them to her house, and they stayed in her attic for years and years and years. Her daughter had a son, which was me, and I had undiagnosed ADHD. And they were like,
Mm.
"What's wrong with this child? Why is he not move? Can he just relax?" And they slapped. She decided, you know what? I'm slapping wrestling on, see what that does. And it was the only thing that could make me stay still. And from
Mm.
then on, that's how I got into wrestling. Is she would just, and you got to understand, I didn't know what WWE was until I was 10,
Oh
and I
wow.
was watching wrestling till I was 3. I
Wow.
was 3 years old when I started watching wrestling, so
Mhm.
I was brought up on Mexican lucha libre. That was what I would watch. So La Parca was my Undertaker. He's a skeleton dude. He
Yeah,
looks
yeah,
like this. He's the best. He does this cool dance. It's awesome.
yeah.
Great. I did know who Rey Mysterio was. I did know who Eddie Guerrero was because
Right.
they were featured when they were younger before WWE on AAA. And the thing is I didn't know wrestling existed out of these tapes. So when I was
Mm.
flipping through the channel, I remember I was grounded, and because I watched Robot Chicken, uh,
Oh, yep.
yeah, I went
Do it.
went back. Well, yeah, I was grounded. So I
I
was
love
like
it.
flipping through, and I went on Sci-Fi, and I see Rey Mysterio versus The Undertaker on for Superstars in like 2009 for the
Wow.
Wow.
world title, and I'm like, wait, that's Rey Mysterio. That's not the same guy, right? And then I look at the mask, and it's the same guy. I was like, oh,
Right.
Yep.
what the hell? That's the same guy. And I was
Oh
like,
my
oh
god.
shoot. So I didn't know wrestling existed outside of that. And lo and behold, I did know what WWE was, but I know it was like, it's not my stuff. I like my stuff. I'm
Mm.
gonna go back to the tapes. So my brain, everybody grew up watching John Cena, or
Mhm.
depending on what era, Stone Cold, The Rock. I didn't I have like a different weird brain when it comes
Mhm.
to wrestling. So my frame of reference is the other stuff that usually newer people will figure out as their journey goes along in wrestling. I started the opposite, where I got all the more obscure stuff, and I had to be put on to the mainstream stuff. So it was kind of
Wow.
weird.
I
Um,
love that.
but but yeah, uh, my uncle was also a huge wrestling fan, so he got me into the indie scene, and then
Mhm.
that's what really wanted me to be a wrestler. Because as much as I loved wrestling, I didn't realize you could do it for real. I thought it was just like you had to be in Hollywood or something to do it.
Right, right.
But there's this wrestler named Homicide. Scary
Mhm.
name, I know. I've met
Mhm.
him. And he was the first Puerto Rican wrestler I've ever saw. He was
Wow.
and I'm Puerto Rican,
Me
so
too.
Yes,
yeah,
this is
sick.
Xavier.
Well, Boricua. Gotta shout out every time.
Your people,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, but
Or wear it. Point
yeah,
Mario.
yeah, it's one or the other, you know. But yeah, like the biggest thing was like I, Mexican wrestlers were my Latino representation, but
Mhm.
I didn't know there were Puerto Rican wrestlers. So when Homicide popped out, beat Brian Danielson, or as you know him, Daniel
Mhm.
Bryan, for the Ring of
Mhm.
Honor World Title, and I saw that, and I was like, oh, so not only do I like wrestling, I have to do it now. So after that, after that, it was over, and my mom forbid me to be a wrestler. She was like,
Mm.
you're not doing it, even though your grandfather is a multiple time Puerto Rican middleweight champion in boxing, which is far more dangerous for potentially.
Yes!
Uh,
Oh my
you know,
god.
yeah, even though your grandfather is a world champion in boxing and all that, you can do boxing, but you can't do professional wrestling. So I ended up doing pro wrestling. I ended up doing sorry, not pro wrestling. I ended up doing amateur wrestling in high school, and I did boxing. But the biggest thing was I was looking for a school, and I found one at the age of 14. And I was like, Mom, okay, I'm gonna make you a deal. All right. I'm gonna send them a letter begging them to let me be a wrestler. And if they say yes and I sign a waiver, will you pay for it? And she's like, sure. Yeah. Well, they're not going to do it. It says 18 and up. There's no way they're going to let a 14-year-old boy be a pro wrestler. Lo and behold,
Mhm.
she was 100% wrong, and they let me be a pro wrestler.
Oh
She
my god.
she ate, and my mother, she's a woman of her word, and let me be a pro wrestler begrudgingly. My dad hated it even more. My dad
Wow.
hated it. So both my parents, but I turned my parents around. They like it now. They
Mhm.
I was
like
gonna
wrestling.
ask.
Yes, they like wrestling because one, I this is my job now, so they
Right.
realize I'm making an income. But secondly, they once the again, once you watch it live, it changes everything. Once
It
you watch it
really
live, it's
does.
not the same. It's not the same thing anymore.
Mhm.
And they watched me wrestle live, and they were like, "I get it." You know
I
what I
love
mean?
that.
Funny enough, my dad hates wrestling, but he has a Goldberg like the tribal thing that
No,
Goldberg
he
has.
doesn't.
He has the tattoo because of
No.
Goldberg,
Come
That's
on.
crazy.
but he doesn't like wrestling.
That makes no sense.
It makes no sense, but he's like, "Oh, I saw it and I liked it, so I stole it." You're ridiculous. Anyway,
That's so funny.
It's so funny.
but yeah,
I
that's the gist.
I'm always
Wow.
fascinated by, like, how people, like, get where how it's put in front of them, you know? For me, it was my father. He we watched a lot of WWE growing up, but we were, like, channel flippers, so we watched a lot of pretty much everything. And he would always tell me about, when he would, watch Ric Flair and Colon in Puerto Rico, growing up,
Oh,
and
okay.
he's like, "That's what got me into wrestling," and that's so that's how it was presented to me, like, it was my
So
father was like,
Xavier,
"Look at this."
Xavier,
Mhm.
I found out why my dad hates wrestling, and I've never
Okay,
said this on any podcast. Okay,
okay.
this is
We
first class
we have the
information.
exclusive.
This is the exclusive air horns. Da-da-da-da-da. All right, cool. Sick. My dad watched Ric Flair and Carlos Colon wrestle in Puerto Rico when he was 4 or 5 years old. Okay, I did not know this. He was there in person. He was like 8.
Mhm.
I said 4 or 5. He was probably like 8 or 9. But he watched it. He won. Carlos Colon won the title, and then was never champion, and that's why he hated wrestling.
Okay, that's acceptable. That's an acceptable reason because that would make me mad too.
If you don't know Kelsey,
I definitely
Ric Flair had this thing where, well, the NWA had this thing where Puerto Rico was known for being a very violent place and very scary place. So if Ric Flair had beaten the golden boy of Puerto Rican professional wrestling, Carlos Colon, they might have killed Ric Flair. They might have actually killed him. Like it was that bad.
Mm. Okay.
So they were like, "How do we get Ric Flair home safely
Mm.
while also making sure he has the title? Because we can't like we have to figure this out." So what they decided is we're going to have Carlos Colon beat Ric Flair clean. But the thing is, we are not going to recognize Carlos Colon as the champion once Ric Flair gets back to the United States. We're not going to acknowledge it.
Well, how is that better?
So Carlos Colon beat Ric Flair clean,
Mhm.
but was not recognized as the NWA World Heavyweight Champion. Ric Flair was still the champion. It was just some weird hugabaloo. It doesn't make any sense, but
Right.
they
I hate
just
that.
wanted to make sure Ric Flair wasn't murdered by the Puerto Rican fans because that was a real thing. In fact, people were murdered in Puerto Rico, as you will later find out eventually. So
So, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's very crazy.
That makes me mad though. I get it.
Yeah, no,
I get it.
So you get into wrestling school. Yes, you're 14. I did some research a little bit about you. I didn't
Okay.
go crazy because I also wanted to just, hear it from
Talk.
you and everything, but just like chit chat. But um so I know that you got banged around quite a bit when you were because and I feel like this fascinates me and obviously as a wrestler I'm sure you can extrapolate on this better than anybody else can, but like how older wrestlers don't have this thing about teaching younger wrestlers, like how they don't want to teach, and I think that you said it was like, you would think going to a pro wrestling school, they'd want to teach you, but it doesn't happen. Like, so you are in this pro wrestling school and you're like you're taking bumps, like it's really crazy. And then like how do you go from this 14-year-old who is in this wrestling school like trying to learn and that somehow gets into this place where like now you're Robert Martyr and you're so established, which is like a huge journey. I mean, that's like almost 10 years of material, but I'm just
Yeah,
curious.
the biggest thing was the reason I still have my own personal turmoil when it comes to that, my own personal like, oh, screw you guys. But I also realized that the reason they did it is because they saw something in me and they
Mhm.
realized that if they had taught me that I would potentially take their spot, their money, their food, all that's like a really, really outdated old way of thinking,
Mhm.
old way,
Mhm.
because you have to understand wrestling back in the day was very protected. They would beat you up, they would basically make you so tired you couldn't walk. and then they would say, "Come back tomorrow," and they would do it again, and then
Mhm.
keep doing it until there were like 2 of you left, and then they would be like, "Okay, we'll teach you." You know what I mean? And that's how you got into wrestling. They were trying to keep some of that old
Mm.
stuff,
Mentality. Yeah.
mentality, and what they protect the business essentially.
Mm.
And there's a level to that that is still there today, but the
Mhm.
way we protect it is different. Um, uh, how I got to Robert Martyr though, the story is this. In training, I broke my neck. I broke
Wow.
my neck in training when I was 17. My OG trainer, my actual trainer, was not there that day, and I had an alternate trainer that wasn't that good, and
Mm.
he did not know how to teach that well. So he was like, "Hey, why don't you take a Hurricane Rana?" And I was like, "I've never done that before." And the person doing it had never done it before, and he's like, "It's okay, just do it, and I'll tell you if it's wrong or not." So lo and behold, we do it, and the problem is when you do a Hurricane Rana, you're supposed to release, um, and he didn't. He leg locked,
Oy.
and we he jolted me down, and I went straight on my head, and I heard a
Oof.
little click, and I couldn't move.
That's
And
so scary.
I was laying in the ring, and I was like, "I can't move." He's like, "Shut up, get up." And I was like, "I can't move." And he's like, Stop being a get up." And I was like, "I can't move. I cannot move. I'm stuck." And I'm like close to tears. I can remember it like it was yesterday. Picturing arguing with this guy, first off, on the fact that if I'm paralyzed or not. Secondly, I'm realizing that my life is over. Like it's over. I'm going to be paralyzed for the rest of my life. I had a good run. It's over. Everything, my hopes and dreams, not even wrestling, just wanting to have a family, relationships with people, walking, all gone like that. And I
Wow.
realized it was over. So lo and behold, they call the ambulance. They have to get through the ring, strap me, put me in the ambulance. We go to the ambulance. I can't move still. Um, and we get there, and they give me some medication. Then I feel my pinky. Oh my god!
Wow.
And I feel my thumb, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I start feeling my index finger, and then my hands, and then I got feeling in my hand now, and I'm like, oh my god, okay, okay. And I'm like I'm like talking to myself. I'm getting emotional talking about it. But uh, sorry, I was just
No,
like
don't worry.
willing myself, like you're not paralyzed, you're not paralyzed. And then I move my arm, and then I could move both my arms, and then I could start moving my shoulders, and then the rest started coming back.
Oh my god.
And then it got to my waist, and I was like, okay, so I'm paralyzed from the waist down, not from the neck down. That's an improvement. I'll be in a
Mhm.
wheelchair, but I can move. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's an improvement. And then they give me more medicine, and then I can start feeling my toes. And that's when I knew I wasn't paralyzed. So it
Jeez.
was this that happened all within an hour of just like the longest hour of my life
Oh my
Right.
god.
of like my life is over.
Mhm.
And to speed the story faster, my my doctor at the time, whoever was taking care of me, one of the nurses, they walked in and said, "Do you do any exercises on your neck at all?" And we do this thing called we did an amateur wrestling. I did an amateur wrestling, and I did in pro wrestling. It's neck bridges, strengthens your neck. So you're
Mm.
basically bridging, not using your hands on your neck.
Mhm.
And it Kurt Angle did this. This is what
Yeah.
Kurt Angle says saved his life many times. It's not good for you. It really isn't. It's not a good
Mhm.
exercise, but it does one thing: strengthen your neck. And it what happened was is my neck swelled so much that the tissue got in between the bone and stopped it from completely rupturing.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
Oh
um,
my god.
and they said, she's okay, wrestling neck bridges, and they go come back. She's like, um, so that so we think that saved you. And
Mm.
so quite literally, wrestling saved my life. Quite literally,
Mm.
Wow.
because I got to the bone where I got what Big E got. Have you
Mhm.
seen how big? Well,
Yeah.
so I got the bone right under Big E. Biggie got the danger zone. I got right under the danger zone.
Wow.
But the
Yeah.
danger zone is where you break your neck and you can potentially die.
Right.
Um, I was right under that. So I don't remember which C it was, but I think it was like C6 or C5 or something like that. But um, yeah, it was insane. So I was like, oh my! I literally said this verbally out to my dad. I was like, I almost became a martyr for wrestling, and then I was like,
Mm.
martyr. I just kept saying that martyr, martyr, martyr. I really almost became a martyr. And then I looked it up. What does a martyr do? Die for what they believe in. I was like, well, the only thing I believe in is wrestling. So I almost became a martyr for wrestling, and wrestling saved my life. So that means I'm going to give my life to it. Like it's kind of like a religion or something.
Mhm.
Robert Martyr. Robert Martyr. Huh. I like that. I'm gonna be Robert Martyr, and that's where the name stuck right there. And
Jesus.
and that's literally that's the reason I have that name. So Robert Martyr is literally the extension of myself because I'm quite literally going to give everything to wrestling. Going to give everything to wrestling that almost got taken from me. I'm going to give it
Mhm.
back. So I
Mm.
owe everything to wrestling essentially.
Yeah, that's
Dang.
crazy. And like
Wow.
I not sure I want to phrase this question. How do you, I like you're 23, but that's a lot of life to live in, that span of time. But
Yeah,
but how did that situation, because essentially like the worst thing that could have happened you believed happened, or at least for a short period of time, you know what I mean? So how
yeah.
did that like alter your approach like going forward? Was there like a period where you were like really like hesitant to get back in, or were you like, no, I'm determined to make this?
No, here's the thing. I got in too early. I started wrestling again too early.
Oh wow.
I was supposed to do what 7 months of physical therapy. I was like, frick that. I'm doing 4 and getting back in the ring as soon as possible. That
Wow.
was not smart. I will be honest. That was not smart of me because I couldn't lift anything. The 2 pound baby weights. I
Yeah.
couldn't lift that over my head,
Oof.
and I was it was dumb. I shouldn't have done that. But eventually, I decided, hey, listen, I'm gonna go back to physical therapy. I'm going to start doing this again. And I lost 45 pounds because I
Wow.
gained a bunch of weight.
From not being able to do stuff.
I was depressed. I was like, I can't train. I can't do anything. Like, I was so depressed. So I gained all this weight. I was in the worst shape of my life. And then I lost the weight, all of the weight. And guess what? The pandemic hit as soon as I lost all of it.
Oh, that sucks.
But I was like, I refuse to get fat again. So the whole pandemic, I was like doing like running like a madman. Have you guys heard of David Goggins? I was on that for
Oh
like
yeah.
the whole pandemic. I was like, never stop training. Running through the woods and stuff, like going like a and doing push-ups. You know what I mean? Like random.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And funny enough, like my, I started popping off during the. That's when I started popping off.
Mm.
There were some closed tapings, some closed taping shows, and I said, "Whoa, flights are $20. Sign me up." And I said, "Hey man, I might get COVID and die, but I'm here for the ride. I'm gonna figure it out." And I went to those tapings and I wrestled, and that's then at the time that's the only wrestling that was going on. So for on an independent level, all eyes were on me. You know
Mm.
what I mean? I had nobody to compete with because nobody else was wrestling.
Oh,
Mm.
wow.
So um that's how I kind of got my break is like people started noticing me from that. And yeah, and that's when it started. I had a big thing about like we were talking about this earlier, how you said like the old guard wouldn't want me to get better and stuff. Um, well, the thing is that I had a resentment towards my own state. I live in Florida,
Mhm.
and Florida is known for having a great wrestling past, but now it's not anything like that because all of the people that learned from the old guard kind of ruined it for everybody. So I didn't want to be known as, oh, I'm a Florida guy. I hated it. I hated it because I got
Mhm.
localized. Oh, he's good for Florida. Oh, he's good for Florida. No, I just
Right.
want to be a good wrestler.
Right.
So that's kind of where it comes from. But yeah,
Heard. Heard.
Nice. Wow, that's awesome. I love because I was wondering why they introduce you like that. Because I love that, where you're from Like the state of nowhere. I love that.
Yeah, for state, yeah. I changed it recently to No Man's Land. No
Love
Man's
that.
Land, Florida, because that's where I live, literally.
Love that.
So, and recently, I dropped the Poison Youth because I felt like I had done everything I could do under that moniker, and I felt like, hey, I'm 23, I'm still young, but um, that time is going to expire. You know what I mean? I
Mhm.
can only be the poison. I can't be 45 and be the Poison Youth. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
Right.
Of course.
Oh, I felt like that moniker, and I also like this. I also like the Stray. I actually have a match on YouTube. It's me versus Brown. If you want to, guys, check it out. Anybody who's watching, it's on my YouTube channel. He's also known as the Stray. So we had a match. It was Stray
Mm.
versus Stray, and he beat me. And I said, you know what? I give that name to you. You are the only Stray now. So
Mm.
now I don't have anything until recently. And I'll probably explain it soon. I have a lot of big things coming, but it's the son of the serpent now. So that's
Love
what
that.
I
I
Very
saw that in
cool.
one of your Instagram posts, and I was gonna ask about it, so now I know.
yes, it is the son of the serpent now. I'm gonna explain it in bigger detail, but essentially I come from a long list of bad people, and that's all I'm gonna say about that. So
Mm,
that's what so yeah,
very
we'll see.
exciting. I love that. We were also, we had just watched your like you were saying, marrying film, and wrestling, and we just watched your Road to Nowhere short film, which was
Mhm.
Yes.
fantastic,
Yeah, it was really
fantastic.
cool.
That shot of, like, where it gets to you, like, just your forehead wrestling in your eyes, like, that is such an amazing shot. Like, I sent it to Xavier, I was like, "You mu like, we have to watch this, like, this is so amazing." And so that is, like, the next which we'll talk about because right now I really do wanna get into, like, the matches that inspired you, what you sent to us, but, like, I'm excited to see what's coming because based off of that, like, amazing film that you put together, I'm like, "Okay, well, big things are coming, like, this is
Like, yeah,
crazy."
it very much it leaves you with the whole, like, "Where am I going? I don't know, but you're gonna love it." You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's really the big thing is that my films, that's like those are my baby. You know, what I
Mhm.
mean, that's what I'm really really proud of. My films, it's I don't think anybody's doing it. Nobody's
Mhm.
making movies like that. Nobody's making short films like that. And that the concept comes from a big thing that happened in my career where I was wrestling for a promotion called Prestige Wrestling,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and a guy named by the name of Sandy Callahan, who I viewed as a hero, screwed me over and cost me my career in Prestige. So now I don't have a home as a wrestler. I'm officially a nomad. So that's what I wanted to tell. It was like I have nowhere to go, but where I am going is somewhere, and you're going to follow me on that journey. So I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed that. So I will give you another exclusive over here. But that shot that you're talking about, Kelsey, is that's going to be in my next. That's just a sneak peek of what's going to be in my next film.
Oh,
So
wow, okay.
that's going to be the next Son of the Serpent. So that shot right there is going to be the heart of the next thing.
Mm,
Um, so
as it
yeah,
should be. It's
yeah.
I
beautiful.
I love that, and I love that, like, wrestling really, like, is open to be entertaining in many ways. So the fact that you're taking this, like, route that is, like, one that you're passionate about and creative is just like, let me entertain you in a way that, like, you haven't seen quite yet. Like, and that's really exciting. Like, that's something like that's like people can look forward to and like kind of anticipate like, oh, like, where's he going with this? Like, this is a cool project.
Well, and it's also it's it's telling stories that you can't tell in the ring.
Hmm.
That's the biggest thing for me.
Mm,
It's telling stories that you can't tell in the ring. And the thing is usually if I had a company, um, it would be like, if I was signed to WWE, it would be the WWE telling me stories. But I don't
Right.
have that luxury,
right.
so I have to do it. You know
Right.
what I mean? Those films aren't cheap. I have to get somebody to film it for me.
Right.
I direct it, I write the scripts, I do everything. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And I quite literally, independent wrestlers are as independent as you can imagine. It is
Right.
Yeah.
DIY. So I'm doing that all myself. And so far, every time I drop something, it gets more and more traction. So,
No.
um, yeah,
Awesome. So let's get into these matches because you served us an absolute education. I mean, these matches were in so many incredible like organizations. But I feel like a lot of them follow like there were similar like undertones in certain ones of them, but like there I mean, we were talking about it yesterday and I was like, this is like an anthology. This is like this is research. This was like dedication. So like thank you for that. I mean, this was like
Yeah,
a lesson,
we
which
were
was
really excited. It
amazing.
was it really felt like it was a like super well thought out. Be like just like here's like wrestling of the like the world. Here's your like smorgasbord of like wrestling.
Yes.
Yes.
And I think and I really like appreciate that you like put the thought into what you were going to like present to us. Just in regards of we got to see so many different styles that try as I might, we're following a trajectory on the show, so there's only like so many things I can throw at Kelsey at one time without.
Yes.
But it's nice when it comes from like other people where it's just like, no, try this. This is great.
Yes.
Oh,
And
yes.
I know you guys were watching Raw, so I was like, okay, they got their American fix. Let me
Mhm.
give them everything else. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And
Oh,
I
yeah.
I just thought I always felt like let those all those matches mean something to me because all those matches were the first matches that I watched of each style. So
Gotcha.
I wanted to give that to you guys.
Mhm.
So that's what put me on to like, oh, I love this style now. Oh, I love this part of the world. And the big thing I say is the reason why I watch so much wrestling, so much different wrestling, is because when I do watch my WWE, when I do watch my AEW, it gives me so much more appreciation
Mhm.
and so much more
Right.
so much more context. You know
Right.
what I mean of what I'm watching. So
I
yeah.
love that.
Very cool.
What watches will we be reviewing, watching, going through today?
All right. So I wanted to start with Samoa Joe versus the
Oh,
Necro Butcher because that was
crazy.
just from the rip, just
Insane.
insanity.
And
And
CM Punk is on commentary,
Yes, CM
which
Punk
is
is on
why
hilarious.
I was like, "What are
and
you doing?"
Eddie Kingston is also on
Yeah,
commentary.
They were having the time of their lives, first of all. I
they
mean, I
really
was like, if
were.
that's it, that's the commentary table I'm trying to sit at. Like, they were literally like it was like 3 friends watching something that they truly could not even fathom that they were watching and just mind blown, so thrilled, and I was like, "Same." Like, this is I feel the same. I feel the energy.
So
So yeah, no, I was just gonna say, in my opinion, that's like one of the greatest matches ever, like ever. I can't. It's like unfathomably. It's not pretty. It's
yeah,
not beautiful.
Mm.
It's just you just have to see it. You
yeah,
just have to see it. I can't describe it.
it is very much just like in the side like this is just a battle of wills. It is just whose body is going to give out first,
So
and
true.
like how are we gonna get there? And I love that. And it's like fun fact, some my first like ever wrestling show that like I went to was a Ring of Honor like show, and Samoa Joe at the time was like the champion. So,
Okay.
like
So
so
sweet.
this was like super fun just because it just like it was fun seeing Samoa Joe like in that context again, just because
Yes.
I followed his career like since then. So I've seen him in TNA, I've seen him pop up in like WWE. Now he's had his just that title run in AEW. But this is just absolutely insane. This is just like
This is him in peak form. This is
that's what I'm
peak
saying. Yeah,
Samoa Joe. This is him at Super Saiyan level.
right.
I don't know if you
So
guys
true.
I don't know if you guys know the context of why this match happened.
It
Do
was
you
like
guys know
the
the
vengeance, right? Because, like, some
yes,
Necro no, yes, Necro Butcher had, like, beat up one of Samoa Joe's
trainees. Yes.
yes,
Yes.
okay,
So you
love
were
that.
right. You were right, Kelsey. So Samoa Joe beat up, or sorry, not Samoa Joe. Necro Butcher had messed up one of Samoa Joe's trainees pretty badly, and Samoa Joe, before the hand, did not want to work with Necro Butcher. But
Mm,
that gave him the excuse to work with Necro Butcher,
work.
and what happened, and it was. You have to understand too. That was a match that people had wanted for so long.
Mm,
For like 4 years, people had wanted that match.
oh
People
my
were
god.
on the message
You could
boards.
tell.
Like Imagine Samoa Joe versus Necro Butcher, and this is before what would be later a feud between the two rival companies,
Mhm.
CZW and Ring of Honor. This was in the middle ground, IWA Mid South. But it was at the CZW venue because you could see the turnbuckles that
Mhm.
CZW on it and stuff.
Mhm.
So it was quite literally, if you think of it, it was the trash bag wrestling, the deathmatch wrestling versus like the striker, proficient,
Mhm.
like standard wrestling, and it's so disgustingly violent that
Yeah.
it's what I show every person that's like, "Ah, wrestling's fake." Ah,
Yeah.
and you put on, "Hey, just sit. You have like 8 minutes. Let me just put this on for you, and you tell me what you think." Then,
Yep. I literally said in the first 8 minutes, everyone is bleeding.
It's
Everyone is
everyone's
basically dead. I was like, I don't even know, and I was like, I literally looked at the time, I was like, "There is 20 more minutes." I don't
yeah.
know who, and literally, I think CM Punk, I think I wrote this, CM Punk goes, "I mean, I would just stab him, but not Necro Joe, the
yeah.
Necro Butcher, it's the only way to take him out." I was like, "At this point, I think yes, I think that is the only way." And the Choose Death shirt is so good. It's so good. I love those little the little attention to detail is like, and the name Necro Butcher is insane and incredible.
It's the oh, he is quite literally the beacon, one of the beacons of the 2000s. I'll say, as far as like pro wrestling goes, he was known as like just this brawl. There's nobody wrestling like Necro Butcher now. Nobody. There's
Mm.
nobody
Yeah.
on planet Earth that wrestles like he. He didn't put on holds. He didn't wrestle safe. If you were going to wrestle Necro Butcher, it was going to be a fight to the death, and that was it. And
Mhm.
that was it every time. He used to wrestle barefoot. Actually, he was a barefooted wrestler at one point until this match where he decided to wear boots like a normal person.
Good to
What's
see.
crazy is, like, he gets, like, knocked out in the end of it, like, comes to and is immediately swinging. Like, it just immediately just, like, swinging again. You're like, "Whoa, this dude means it." Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Oh,
and
Yeah.
do you guys see just the fans
Oh my
that
losing
god.
their mind?
Yep.
Like,
that's how you could tell they really wanted it because it was just, like, everything they did, out of the park. Was out of the park. It was insane.
it was
It's
great. It was
it's one
great.
of those things where, again, like Xavier and I joke all the time, like if I could go back in time, like certain things I would go to, like that were just the most, in the nicest way possible, unhinged parts of wrestling. Like how I would eat that up. Like if I was there, forget it. Like it would have been over. It would have been wrapped. I would have been like trying to touch the blood, like it was like throwing in his chair. Like I don't know. Like that would have been so crazy. I cannot imagine. Or I would have been just paralyzed with shock. It's
So
anybody's guess.
so for me, I remember when I first saw that match, and it was literally, it was me seeing Samoa Joe exploder him from the
Mhm.
apron, and then he doesn't get him all the way over, and Necro just hits his forehead
Yeah.
Mhm.
on the concrete.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And it's that moment where I was like, "This is I don't know what even to say. This is
Right.
unreal, unreal,
So
absolutely unreal."
were you in wrestling when you, at this point, when you saw this match? And you're like, "This is what I'm doing at this
So,
time?"
so that was like, oh, 5. I want to say
Okay.
I was 4, so no, I
Oh,
was
so
not.
no. Got it, got it, got it.
But when I did eventually see this match, my uncle put me onto this match because
Okay.
he had it on DVD, and
Mm,
he was like, "You got to see this," and I was like, "Okay." And that changed the game for me. I was like, "This is nuts.
that's
This is great."
crazy.
It's the match that was like the first indie match that I ever saw. So it was like
Mm.
that's what was my introduction to indie wrestling. I was like, they don't do this on WWE.
Nope.
They don't.
No. And when we started, because we are watching Raw, and then when we,
Yeah.
like, even just, like, trickled into ECW, I was like, "Oh, they're doing this over here? This is cool." Like, I was like, "They're not doing that over there," and, like, love what's going on over there, but I love to moonlight over here and see what they're doing. Like, that's fun.
It's the guilty
So
pleasure match. It's the guilty
absolutely.
pleasure match. It's what I watch when I just need a smile on my face. So I just see there's one part of this match where they go to the outside. It's the beginning of the match, and Necro, for some reason, just decides to actually punch Samoa Joe in the face multiple
Yep.
times.
Yep.
No holding back, just punching him in the face. You know what I
Crazy.
mean? And and I think in that one, he exploders him to the floor too,
Yep.
if I remember correctly. So
Bonkers.
this is
But
bonkers.
the knees that Joe responded with after getting punched in the face
The
was
face,
insane. Was
the
absolutely
knees at the end, the knees at
oh,
the end where he held his
dude,
hair.
dude.
No,
I
no.
was like, that man is no longer with us in this world. He is gone. I was
He's
like, that's
gone.
crazy.
Yeah. And you're at home like this,
No, yeah, just like
watching it to put a smile on your face.
I love that.
Love it. Me too. It was a thrill. I loved this match. I was beyond overjoyed to watch this. And again, I felt very in the same vein as the commentators where they were just losing their minds, cursing, screaming, throwing themselves. Same. Loved
So,
it.
Yeah.
Robert, off of the list, I want you to pick one that you want to like us to go into that like we can
Okay.
make sure we don't miss.
Hold on. Let me go back to our mail because I've sent a lot of them, so I gotta refresh my memory on which ones I did send.
Yeah, no
Um,
worries. We had Eddie Guerrero and Benoit and Vengeance. We had
yes,
Tully
let's talk about
Blanchard.
that one. Let's
Yes,
talk about that one.
please.
Let's talk
Please.
about that one. Because that was the one WWE. I felt like I needed to put that one in there because that's the match that made me fall in love with wrestling.
Mm,
It is
Mm.
to me. It is a 10 out of 10 match. It is
it
a
Oh my
there.
god.
It is there is no as a wrestler. I'm talking specifically as a guy that actively looks for things that are wrong. I cannot find anything wrong with this match. I
right.
cannot. No fundamental. No footwork issue. No timing issue. There is nothing. It's one of those matches where I put in my small list of perfect match. So
Mm.
and if
Sure.
you it's if one you guys will find that these two have wrestled each other
Everywhere.
countless times everywhere all over the country and out of the country, but to me this is their magnum opus. This is it.
Mhm.
Rhino at the end
Ugh.
when you think he's going to spear Benoit
I love that
and or sorry when you think he's going to spear Eddie and he spears Benoit instead and Eddie's like this and then he looks like a
He's just
cartoon
like,
character and he's like and then he does the frog splash, and Benoit does not brace at all. He's just laying there dead and takes it on the stomach.
right.
Do you know how much of a G you have to be to do that?
I
That's
swear.
oh my god! It's like
Mhm. I was like, that is a large, not like he's not insane, but he's a big dude. Just
it's a
throwing
big dude
himself at you.
jumping. Yes,
The the ending was so good because I know a little bit about Eddie Guerrero and Chris Benoit. I've never seen them wrestle. This was like my first time watching them actually wrestle.
okay. This is that was worth it. Then it was worth it. This is a victory. This is a victory for me. And this is the first time you've seen them wrestle. That is the
Yes.
best match you could have watched.
Oh my
That's
god.
awesome.
Well, yeah, it's ruined me for the rest. But I like this was great actually because also on your list, we've never seen a female match either, 2 women wrestle
Yeah,
because
because I
we're
remember watching in
so you really
WWF,
checked
that's just not a thing.
all the boxes, which was a thrill. But yeah, like this, I'd never seen them wrestle, so that in and of itself just technically was crazy. And then first of all, Eddie Guerrero arriving in the car,
Yes.
amazing. What
Love
Yes.
that. Oh, with the "For You Haters" license
yes,
plate,
license
so
plate
good.
and the shirt that just says cheat to win. Love that. And then because like let's not mince words. That's what I'm here to do. That's
Yeah,
it.
Eddie didn't play no bones. I was
I
like, he'll
love
lie to
and I
the other
love
wrestlers
that.
and the referee, but like he'll tell the audience exactly what he's gonna do.
He's like, just so you know. We all see it, we all know about it. But the ending was I was not expecting that, and I only know Rhino from we watched Rise and Fall of ECW documentary, and Rhino
Gotcha.
was one of my favorite people in that documentary. I was like, "God, love that guy. He is so sweet." Like, what and then he is huge. He
Oh my
In
god.
this,
Rhino
so
indeed.
so Rhino at this point is probably the best and most jacked he'd ever be at this point because
Mm,
they were pushing him to be like a mid card title guy. So he was in the best shape he could be, and he just looks like a monster.
Oh
The
my god.
gore is like my favorite move. The spear, you know what I mean? It's a gore
Yep.
when Rhino hits it, but yeah, I did this match. I can watch it over and over and over again, and it will never get old.
Mm-mm.
It's truly it truly is one of the best matches ever. I can't say anything else other than that because if you watch it, I think the big thing that stood out to me is just how much of the character Eddie is. How
Mhm.
much of
Yes.
like how much he plays into who he is as a person, as a character, as his the roles he plays in this match. It's just so good. And Benoit, the straight man, and there's so many times where they do this. Benoit goes for the a crossface crippler, the crippler crossface, and Eddie finds like 8 different ways to get out of it because they've wrestled each other
So many times.
so many times. And they don't outright say it, but for the this is what I mean. If you watch different wrestling, the context. If you watch their other matches, you know Eddie didn't get out
Mhm.
when he got hit with the crippler crossface. So when you watch this match, this is probably the 16th time they've wrestled. You can see Eddie has a plan.
Mhm.
So it's just so good. It's so this match is like wow, beautiful.
And
It's like the Mona Lisa.
I love
Yeah.
that. I it just reminds me of, there's this one interview, I think, like, Triple H and Shawn Michaels do, where they're just like, "You will
Yes.
never hit anybody harder than your best friend." And these 2
Yes.
are they were ride or die forever. So, like,
You
they
saw
were
the
going
shoulder tackle, right? You
dude,
saw the shoulder tackle at the beginning where Eddie bounces like 5 feet in the air.
I
right.
know. It's
Oh,
crazy.
so insane. But yeah,
Definitely
it just
crazy.
that quote always, like, whenever I see these 2, that quote is always in my head. I was like, "They are just wailing on each other because they know at the end of it, they're gonna be like, 'Good job.'"
Good job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're be like but even talk about Eddie's character, because again, this is my first impression of him. The part where he hits Chris with the title belt and then hits the ref with the title belt, or he hits the ref, then Chris, then throws the title belt on Chris, and then
Mhm.
is like,
Deceased,
and
yes.
then tries to wake the ref. That took me out. He's like, "Get up!" Like, hello, like, do you not see
As
the
if he didn't do
tomfoolery
it,
that is
like, he's so
afoot?
far.
Yeah, like, it's just so funny. It had like the perfect amount of like actual like real wrestling where you're like really engaged in how physical it is, and like for lack of a better word, I want to say like camp. Like it was just like kind
Yeah.
of
It's Tom and
like
Jerry. It's
yes,
Tom and Jerry.
thank you. Oh my god, it was
It's
like
Tom and Jerry.
perfectly balanced like between all of those things because they're
And it
doing such insane things, but like it's also just engaging.
Mhm.
it never felt out of place either. That's the
Right,
great part. It never
Yeah.
felt like, oh, that's kind of weird that they're just doing this now. Like, no,
right.
it felt perfect to what Eddie's lying, cheating, and stealing, willing to do whatever he can to regain the title, and he's also kind of a dunce, which makes him hilarious.
Right.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, and it just works. It just works, and it's again one of the best matches ever. You can,
So
uh,
good.
if you guys want, we can get to that women's match since you've never seen a women's match on this
Yes, I
show.
think we should
Please.
because it was
Please.
the hardest hitting, like, women's match I've seen probably ever. Like, it was insane from, like, the bell rings and just the, like, buzzsaw kicks to the thigh immediately. It was crazy. It was absolutely bonkers.
Kelsey, I got to know your what you
Yeah,
thought about
yeah.
this.
Okay, so I want to say first of all, the I feel like Japanese wrestling is so verbal. And maybe that's like I feel like I really it's so visceral and I feel like I'm there. And like but these women, first of all, the looks, love. Like the hard cut makeup on the nose. These are like detail like that I care about. But like the hardcore like dark like makeup on the nose to, like,
Mhm.
look so scary and like look like just constantly in a state of seething. I just love that. They are so powerful and so like I don't know what I was expecting with women wrestlers, but it was not this, but this is also I feel like a different type of expectation because they are just like two powerhouses. I feel like they hate each other. I obviously didn't understand what was there was also no commentary during this match, correct?
Yes, there was no
Okay.
commentary.
I
That was a
hate it.
choice. That was a choice by the promotion to not
Okay.
have any commentary because the whole idea was that the wrestling is going to speak for itself.
And
Mhm.
it
So
did.
you're gonna, and it did. And the thing is, but for the fans, I don't know if you're gonna put a graphic up, but it's Akira Hokuto versus Miko Satomura. Miko Satomura is actually currently signed to WWE as we're recording this,
Mm.
and she's a trainer and she did NXT UK a few times, if I'm correctly, but I think she signed to NXT. Um, she at this point was got done with her last year as a rookie, which is in Japan, it's like 3 years you're
Mm.
considered a rookie. So she was on her 4th year, and she was wrestling Akira Hokuto, who was the beacon of Japanese wrestling, female Japanese wrestling. Um, and God, Miko just gives it to her. You can
Mhm.
just see it. Miko just gives it, and she was on a retirement tour. Not Miko. Akira Hokuto was on a retirement tour. She had a ton of injuries. She was starting to slow down, and this was like people think that this is like her last hurrah, even though it wasn't her last match. It was her last real stand, um,
Mm.
which is why they go so hard. And a big thing of you notice that the style even is different
Yes.
um, versus like traditional male Japanese wrestling. The style is different, how they do things is different. And the reason it's so hard hitting, it's almost more brutal than the men. Um,
Absolutely.
is because of the standards of society at the time for women in Japan. They weren't treated as threats. They weren't treated seriously. So the women decided, screw you guys. We're going to wrestle harder and more 10 times more brutal than you. And they
Wow.
did. And if you
Yes.
watch this match, it is it's up there to me with Necro and Joe as far as
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
physicality.
At one point, somebody falls out of the ring and, like, they're spraying her with, like, lidocaine, like, or something.
Yes,
I was like,
yes.
"Be" like, that I was like, they were like, "No, you gotta get back in there, girl." Like, this is but they were really like, those hits were connecting. Like, they're when they were jumping off the top and, like, hitting with the knee, like, they I don't have, like I'm not good with the technical
Yeah, no,
terms,
it's all
but
good.
when they were hitting with the knee, like, they were connecting knees to chest. Like, there was no, like, "Oh, I'm gonna, like, fake
It's
you
kind
off."
of kind of tick. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like, they were actually making real hits, and I was like, "They are actually beating the shit out of each other."
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
to the point where they are waiting in the wings with the spray because, like, they're not gonna survive if they don't have a little something. Like, I don't know, it was just beyond.
So this is that match was kind of like if you did you guys watch the entrances as well? I don't know if you guys saw the entrances, but I
I
don't know
think
if
they were
they
in the
entrances.
ring
They
when
were
they
They
on the
were
were
in
ring.
the
in the
ring when
ring.
they cut.
Yeah.
Oh my god, there's a cut with the entrances. It's just worse quality. I sent the best quality one.
Mm.
Well, if you watch Miko's entrance, she has tears in her eyes
Mm,
because she knows what she's about to do. You know
right.
what I mean? If you
Mhm.
watch that entrance, it's chilling. It's chilling.
Wow.
It's like she's crying during her entrance because she's like, I'm about to have the match of my life. And that is that if you go on there's a wrestling website called Cage Match.
Yes, we were just
And
talking
if
about this.
you go on Cage Match, I consider it's like my Pokedex. Okay. This is what I use
Love
to
that.
find matches that I cannot find. Um,
Mm.
it has like a 9 on there, which is
Mm.
and you go if you have like that's like the Cage Match is like the wrestling film community of like, huh, amazing film. And it was okay. It's bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
have like so many jaded, they've seen everything, over criticized. That has a 9. It has a 9
Right.
Wow.
of how good this match was. And the head drops. There's one where
Ooh.
Miko gets dropped on her neck, like directly on her head. Like that's how I got dropped. That's how
Right.
bad it was. Like
Ugh.
it gives me PTSD watching it.
Oh my
Right.
It's
god.
like, oh, so good.
And
And
the ending is great too.
yes, no, no, it wasn't even a pin. It wasn't a
She
submission. It
was, like,
was
impaled on her own sword.
yeah, yeah. And whoever was the last one standing, which was interesting because if you remember, Akira was the last person to hit a move.
Yes.
So it
Yep.
shows even the will of Miko to continue to get up.
Right.
So it was one of the best stories ever, I think,
I
Xavier.
It's fantastic, and I love, like, even, like, just the ending where, like, she's, like, almost up, and then, like, last second, she just, like, can't. She just like,
ugh,
it's just, like, you just feel, like,
everyone hold their breath.
the last bit of will just, like, leave, and you're like,
Leaves.
"Wow." That, like, it was super int I also have, like, a note about, like, you can like, the submissions in this match, the way that they are, like, desperately trying to get to a rope. I'm like, they are really laying it in. I don't know, I loved this
S-
match just because, uh, especially where we're watching now, like 1997 WW, like it's just there's nothing. And then when it is introduced, it is hypersexualized and very fluff. So,
Yes.
um, it takes the WWE so long to get to this point. You know what I mean? Where it's and
Yeah.
where like they're like applauded for, but like if you look around the world, like they've been doing it.
Guys,
So
this was in 2001.
right,
You watch
Crazy.
women's wrestling in 2001 in the WWE, it's still bra and panties matches.
right.
It's
Mhm.
Totally.
crazy. We have to wait so long to
It
get
is
any
only in
type
the
of
last
legitimate
like
wrestling.
10 years that
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
terrible.
Last 10 years. Last 10
And
years is when it's been treated seriously.
right.
and this is crazy. And so how did you come across this match? Why did you choose this one for us to watch? I'm so
I
grateful
chose
you did.
I chose this one because I wanted you guys to see two women presented in a serious way.
Mm,
Like there's no fluff to this match. It's
none.
it's two competitors. You like you can just take the gender completely out of this match and just
Mhm.
watch it and just be
Absolutely.
enthralled. And
Right,
it's like this is what women's wrestling should be or could be. Or
right,
women's wrestling could be anything it wants to be, but we had to move away from the bullshit that we
right.
were being fed for
Mhm.
so
Right.
long. And wrestling is still trying to recover from that. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yes.
But you see, I wanted you guys to watch this match because Miko got injured in this match. Her arm that she was hurting,
Yes.
she actually got hurt. So
Mhm.
she was in genuine pain that whole time. She was in actual pain. That's why when you see, I'm happy you mentioned her being outside and they were spraying her with lidocaine and all that stuff. That's real.
Mhm.
That's 100% real.
I was
Um,
wondering.
yeah, that was real. So she refused to go. She had hyper extended her elbow because um, Akira Hokuto had wrenched in that arm lock that she does all the time,
Mhm.
and she did it too hard
Yeah.
and had almost dislocated her elbow. So
Ugh.
it it was the what I wanted to show you guys is what I thought was the definition of what Japanese wrestling fans, people that are fans of Japanese wrestling, refer to fighting spirit. That's this match. Is fighting spirit.
Mhm.
Is fighting even though you know you cannot win. And that's what this match is. Is Akira Hokuto and Miko Satomura absolutely putting their whole hearts and their souls into this match. It's
Mm.
not even a performance, it's just a show of like soul. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? That's what wrestling is. And I wanted to show you guys that match. So I'm glad we got this. You guys got to sit down and watch that.
Loved it. It was such a good one. I was gonna say we
I
got
don't
so
know.
many good flavors from this.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't know how much more time we have, but I know we have a few more on the list.
So I
Um,
want to do one more from the list, and then I have one of your matches that I would like to talk about.
yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
All right. So if that's cool, me and Kelsey did our like picked one of yours that we wanted to just like bring up.
Let's save that for the end.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Let's save that
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
end.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want to go to Triple A, the 6-on-6 match.
Yes.
You mentioned La
Okay.
Parka and Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero, all
Yes.
participants in this. So again, why did we pick this? And I can kind of get the gist just based on our conversation, but
Yes.
for the people's at home.
So the match is let me see here. Let me deep dive. I know my thing is probably cutting out. The match is Liz Mark, Eddie Guerrero, and Rey Mysterio Jr. versus La Parka, Heavy Metal, and Psychosis
Yes.
at AAA, and I assume it's 94.
Mhm.
But I have this match on VHS.
Love
Okay,
that.
I have this match on VHS. I have the entire thing, and this match is just a culmination of all my favorite guys in
Mhm.
one
Mm.
match, and they all work very well. You get to see a young. It's funny that I sent two Eddie Guerrero matches because I wanted you to see what he became versus what he was. And you can
Mhm.
see Eddie. Eddie is probably in his early. He's probably my age in this match, so
Wow.
you can see how young he is, how new he is, but still how good he is in
Right.
this match.
Crazy.
You see Ray so skinny, right? He's like so tiny.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Um, I picked this match just because it's just a celebration of lucha libre. It's a celebration of it. All and this AAA would do this thing that kind of revolutionized the way that cards were formulated in Mexico. They did a lot of tag wrestling. A lot of it
Mhm.
was based off of it. It was like the new formula. Let's have most of the cards be multi-man matches and the big matches be saved for one-on-ones. Versus now, the spectacle is tag team matches and we'll have the rest of them be one-on-one matches.
Mhm.
It was the other way around. the full card was multi-mans, and then the
Mhm.
big matches, the main event or another match would be singles. So Laparca stands out huge in this match. I love
Oh,
Pac in
Yes.
this match.
the
Yes.
stuff he's doing with like Lismark, crazy. Like with
Crazy stuff.
the mask swap, like geez, so good.
He's a
Just
character. It's
Yeah.
campy, cartoony stuff, but it works and it's
yeah.
great. Oh,
Oh,
my
Yeah,
heart
again,
hurts me so much.
it's perfectly balanced, and, like, the mask switch really took me so off guard, like, that is really so crazy because I know at least a little bit, like, the history of, like, masks, like, that is a no touching zone, like, do not touch the mask, do not take it off, do not like, that is so that was just but the fact that they kept wrestling was the best part, like, they were just like, "Okay, well, I just have to keep going now, like, my mask is different, but let's just keep going," like, I just it's so, so good. He is such a character, that guy.
Yeah, and you can see, like, the Rudos, which is, the heels, and the Technicos, the baby faces,
mhm.
and you can see, like, just how each of them work with each other, like Psychosis and Rey Mysterio, that's a big rivalry in WCW that you'll soon to find
Yeah,
out.
actually, we had Woody from Suplex Vintage Wrestling on,
Okay.
and he gave us Rey Mysterio and Psychosis.
Bash at the
It wasn't the
beach.
yeah, it was Bash at the Beach. I was gonna say, not the one that is in my head that I would always put forward is the one in ECW.
Yes, that's the one I would put over too.
But he didn't want to give us two ECW matches, so he gave us a slightly different flavor.
But yeah, you can see it obviously originated in Mexico, and they were Ray is great in this match. Ray is actually Ray. I feel Ray gets the least in this match. Funny enough, but
Yeah,
I feel like whatever Ray does is great. I love heavy metal. Heavy metal looks so cool. He's not
love that
talked
guy.
about enough. He's like
I
he's a very obscure pick. Um,
I we've seen heavy metal in he's appeared in the WWE at this time. But me and Kelsey have always talked like we always take a little bit of like umbrage with the fact is it how they are presented in
yes,
WWE a lot of the times.
Yes. Yes.
Whether and that's regardless of like whether they're from Mexico, just international wrestlers like in the WWF at this time, like they just they're just not presented in a way that is just like that really allows them to flourish. And watching this makes that all the more apparent. You
So
know?
true.
yes. You can see that heavy metal is the bad boy in AAA.
Right.
He's the bad guy. Like heavy metal
Mhm.
at this time, at least at this particular run, he was never a guy that got super crazy huge or big. But during this time, he was the top Rudo. He was the
Mhm.
top Rudo at in his weight division. And you can see it. The booze of heavy
Right.
metal. He does this dive and he goes to the outside and he starts yelling at fans and people just hate it. It's
Right.
Mhm.
great.
It's
Yeah.
It's
so good. Especially, like, I love a name like that where it's almost like I it's a concept rather than, like, I am
in a name.
this Yes, like, it's like heavy metal is, like, even a concept, just like, "Oh, like, turn that down," like, I don't know. Like, do you know
I
what I
know
mean? Like, I just
that is a big thing in Mexico where there was a wrestler named King of Pop who was just Michael Jackson.
Right.
But it's like
was
you
he
know what I mean? Like
did he come on
uh,
after this match? Because I feel like they started playing Michael Jackson, like, after this
he
match,
might
like
have because
yeah,
he was
I
a
was like, "Why are
AAA
they
guy.
playing Michael Jackson?" Like, that is so weird.
There's no copyright in Mexico, so that you can just put on whatever music you want. Yeah,
Love
Love
that.
that.
it's kind of nuts. Like the copyright laws are so crazy that it's like I don't think it's even worth fighting out there.
You're like, "Okay, just do it,
Yeah,
just play
whatever.
it."
Just do
Wait,
it. Just play the song.
wow.
But yeah, I love this match. I remember before we get to my match, I remember sitting and watching this match with my grandma and her explaining to me like watching this live was so crazy and like it's one of the last like really good memories I've had with her. Like she's still alive and everything, but like when I was younger, that was a really special moment watching this match with her. So I wanted to share it with you
Oh,
guys.
I love that. Thanks.
I love
Thanks for
Yeah.
that.
that. That's awesome. I always appreciate stuff like that just because wrestling is so like I always describe it as like
Personal.
yeah, and like I always describe it as like me and my dad didn't get along with much, but we could sit down for 2 hours and like absolutely just be engrossed in wrestling. And like that was our time to, bond as like father and
Bond.
son. So like I always appreciate when it's like that is kind of like the way it happens for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Love that. And I think it
Um,
was your grandma. I feel like that is so sweet. 'Cause
mhm,
I feel like I hear a lot of, like, father, son, uncle,
mhm.
nephew, whatever, but that I feel like that is so special. I love that she was a photographer. I feel like that's epic.
Yeah, it's super sick. And a little quick factoid: the person that she tape traded with, white dude, sorry, named Roy Lucier,
Mhm.
and he's a super lucha head. So he like got all of these VHS tapes, sold them to her, not knowing that probably 25 years later he'd be seeing me at an indie show, and
Right,
me being like, "I have your name on my tapes."
Wow.
right.
Oh,
That's crazy.
good.
So I met him. I met the
That's a
guy.
full circle moment right
That's a
there.
huge full circle moment. So when I saw him, I was like, "This is nuts. This is nuts." So now we ate dinner together. It was actually pretty emotional. It's pretty sick.
I love that. That's amazing.
Awesome.
Wrestling brings people together. But let's get to it. Let's do it.
Alright, alright.
Oh,
So
yeah, let's talk.
alright, I'm excited. So the match
I'm
that
curious as to which one you picked because you didn't tell me you were gonna do this.
oh, LOL. So, it's the one against, Minoru Suzuki at the
Oh,
House
yeah.
Okay,
of
here we
Independence.
go.
So,
Yes.
I picked it for a couple reasons. Um, 2, because or 1, because me and Kelsey, like, that is a venue we grew up going to. Kelsey is in Jersey. I'm in
Yeah,
Philly now, but I also grew up in Jersey. So we frequented the House of It. Like,
House
I've
of
seen so
Independence.
many bands there. That was just like one of those things where I was like, this is awesome.
I was like,
Uh,
I've stood on those stairs before
right.
because I couldn't get down there, so
And I now like knowing like the respect you have for like all of these different kinds of like styles of wrestling, getting to be in there with somebody like Minoru Suzuki who is just so well respected. What did you get out of that? What would that did that mean to you?
It
Um
was. Oh my god! It was one of the most surreal experiences. I still can't believe it happened.
mhm,
Almost. You know what I mean? I remember when it was announced. I thought it was. There's this guy on Twitter named Tom's Customs who makes like fake graphics all the time.
mhm.
So
Mhm.
I thought it was him. And I was like, "Oh," I just put my phone away and I just went I was at Target, and then I get, like, 8 missed calls, like, then it turned into 15 missed calls, and then I'm getting, like, so many, "Holy shit, bro, congratulations." Like,
Mhm.
"What are they talking about?" And then the promoter's like, "You're not gonna promote your match?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "That's the match." And I fell to my knees at a
Wow.
Target, and
Oh.
I couldn't believe it
Mhm.
because Minoru Suzuki, funny enough, is the first Japanese wrestler I ever saw. So,
Really?
yes. So it was him versus it's on YouTube, him versus Kenta. It's the first Japanese wrestling match I ever saw. So just to go from that, and this is also something I've never said on a podcast. Uh, I told the camera people, do not pan to me during his entrance. I will be crying, and I did. Bawled my eyes out during his entrance, man. Like
That's
I,
it's special, you know? Like you
it
can't make
it's
that up. Like
it's special. Like I was just like, "Don't pan to me, man,
mhm,
please. I don't wanna see my face. Like, I'm gonna be." I was fucking crying my eyes out because
mhm,
I couldn't believe it. It was the biggest mo it's still the biggest match of my life, still the biggest moment of my life, and I'm constantly looking to change something chase something bigger,
mhm.
and what I got out of that match was I don't wanna ruin the mystique of it,
Of
but
course.
I will say Suzuki after the match said something to me that will always resonate with me, and he
Mhm.
told me how great I did, and he was very happy. We actually have some pictures. I'll send if you want to put them on the screen. We'll pretend they're on the screen.
Yeah.
I'll send them to you post production, but of him smiling, he wore this like he wore jeans with these nice dress shoes and a big belt buckle like a cowboy,
Oh my
Mhm.
god.
topless. It was great. He just
Oh
looked
my
like a
god.
mafia member. It was awesome, and he was just like I he funny enough he did joke with me before we had met. He was like we were talking and he was like he was like he was asking me a few questions and I answered and I was like and he was like, sorry, I'm freaking out over here just talking about it.
Nah,
He was
take your
just
time.
like he was all like, so what do you say? And I was like, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to offend you. And he's like, ha ha ha. I need to go to the bathroom. I have a joke with you," and then left.
Oh my gosh.
And dude is an enigma. He's amazing, and that match, you can see it. You can see the passion. Kelsey didn't watch it, and I hope she does after this. But
No, I
I knew
did.
you watched it. Oh, you did watch it.
Oh, I
Oh yeah,
watched
yeah.
it.
Okay,
I
okay,
She
watched a
just didn't
few.
know which one
I didn't know
I was
which
gonna
we were
pick.
gonna watch. I
okay.
only watched a few, so I wasn't sure which one we were choosing. No,
Oh,
I
okay,
definitely
okay.
saw it.
Six. So
Definitely
you
saw it.
could see the passion. You say wrestling is vocal, especially women's wrestling. I was
Yes.
screaming my brains out,
Oh,
and I've
yeah.
never been hit that hard ever
Mm.
in a wrestling match. You could see forearms me, and I just fall forward because I'm
Oh
just
yeah.
so loopy. And man, it was just amazing. It was, and I had just come back from an injury. I had dislocated my
Mm.
shoulder before that. I don't know if you see when I take off my shoulder pad,
Mhm.
Yes.
because I just got over that injury. So I told him I was in my head. I didn't tell him, but I said in my head like I'm not going to wrestle with this thing on. I don't care if it kills me. I don't like. I will say this. I do this ritual. Man, I've never said this on a pod. I'm keep doing this. I'm just giving you guys exclusive. Um, I've
I'm
never
not gonna
said this on
stop
a
you.
podcast. Yeah. First for everything, huh? But yeah, I do this ritual before every match, and I go in a corner and I convince myself that it's my last match, that I'm done, that I'm retiring. I don't want to do this anymore. I genuinely convince myself, like, hey, I'm done. I got nothing left to prove. Or I give myself a reason that I'm hurting, I'm broke. Like I don't know. Whatever reason I give, I truly give myself like 15 minutes to genuinely convince myself like I can't do this anymore. And then I have my match.
Right.
And that in my head, that's my last one. So I might as well give it everything I have, right?
Mm,
It's gonna be the
no,
last one. So
that's awesome. That's
and then
awesome.
after it goes great, I'm like, man, well, on to the next town, I guess. I think I'm gonna
Yeah.
keep doing this. You know what I mean?
Guess I was wrong. Anyway,
Yeah.
that's
But
crazy.
yeah, this match, I talk about emotional. I talk about just all around like surreal experiences. I will say for like the reception that that match got when it was announced, it wasn't like, oh, this is a great match, or oh, this is going to be sick. It was like Martyr deserved this. Like I'm
Mhm.
really glad Martyr got this match,
Mhm.
not from fans, but my people that I didn't even know who knew who I was, like people on TV. You
Mhm.
know
Mhm.
what I mean? Were saying this. Like my trainer Cedric, who like we're not the closest. Like, I don't talk to him every day, and he was like, yes, he needed this match. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like it was just so Daniel Garcia, who had wrestled him earlier,
Mhm.
um, had said like, "This is hell yeah!" Like that
Love
Martyr,
that.
I'm happy Martyr. Like it was like the validation that I so desperately needed from the wrestling community at the time,
Mhm.
because
Mm.
I felt like, hey, like I'm wrestling, I'm having all these great matches. Where's my break? You know what I mean? Where's my time to shine? That was it. That was my time. But my biggest thing now is I don't want to rest on it. It
Mhm.
was a moment. It happened. It was amazing, but does not define me. That match is not the definition of my career. I
Right.
have to keep moving. I have to keep showing people that I can do maybe even greater things than that match. You know what I
Mm.
mean? That's all that's what that match is for me. It's like that's the first of the rest of my career. And that match was probably the biggest screw you to every single person, all those bad memories when I started. It was like I made it, and even
Mhm.
without your help, I still did it. You know
Mhm.
what I
Right.
mean? Because I had people, funny enough, Kelsey, I had people who did that shit to me message me and be like, "Oh, great job, man! Always knew you could do it." Like, get the hell out of here!
Right.
Oh my
You know what I
god.
mean?
Yep.
Like, I had people that I knew talked behind my back of how bad I was and how I'll never make it. Like, say I deserved all these things, and
Mhm.
it was just like, hell yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? Like,
and you could hear in the promo after, like, you really, like,
mm,
encapsulated that where you were just like, I'm here. I did it. So what of it? You know what I mean? I don't know. It was cool. I really, really enjoyed it. And just like hearing how the emotion of you getting to that point where you're like, I've arrived now and we're going to do more. Um, and I needed to like be on like this level with somebody of this caliber for you all to like
To
accept it,
see it.
you know?
Yeah. And what's crazy is I still feel I'm chasing that. I'm still feel like I'm chasing I need to show people that not only have I arrived, not only do I belong, I think I've showed people I belong. I think I need to keep reminding people that I'm here now. I don't know if you guys saw the promo to that match. Did you?
Mhm.
You saw the promo? Yeah,
Yes.
I did the I I edited that promo with my friend Frisco,
Nice.
and he's yeah, I think that promo really helped the mystique of that match. I
Mhm.
really
For sure.
think it like added a whole another layer to like what that match meant to me, but also like my whole idea was that, Suzuki's like kind of the Grim Reaper, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? He's kind of like death himself. So Shinigami, which is
Mhm.
the quite literally the guy of the name of death in Japanese. So I know he saw it, which is crazy.
That is crazy.
So you know, man, it's so crazy that I had that match. It's so crazy that I had that match.
Yeah,
But
and it
yeah,
was amazing.
I appreciate like I didn't expect that we were gonna talk about one of my matches. Like I'm bless you.
We're new to wrestling. Well, I'm new to wrestling. I have to explore the wrestling that is presented to me. So, how
What did you guys think about it? Like what was your as a new wrestling fan, what was the perception that you saw from it?
wow. I mean, for some reason, the first thing I wanna mention is the fact that you got hit so hard you were throwing up. I thought that was crazy, amazing, just to keep it lighthearted for a second. But, like, I thought that was, like, epic. I was like, "I've never seen anyone do that before." Like, they're hit so hard, and then you come back swinging. I just feel like it it felt huge and important, and I didn't even understand, like, the caliber of how huge and important it was truly, but, like, you still felt it, and I think that the reception of the crowd too also indicates that because it was very much, like, I was gonna say split, but I almost feel like it even leaned more towards you. Like, you had like, people were really, like, rooting for you. Like you said, they really acknowledged that you deserved it, and the back and forth was crazy. I mean, like, it at no point like, yes, this is a veteran, you can sense that he is, like, extremely skilled, he has all this experience, but also the fact that you have this energy during the match where it's like, you just, like you respect him, but you won't go down swinging, like, you also have a lot of respect for yourself. Like, that again, that martyr energy where it's like you're willing to literally die, like, put your body on the line for, like, this, and, like, though you have so much respect for this veteran, like, you're not gonna just, like, take it. Like,
Yeah,
there
I'm not gonna get bullied. That's the biggest
yes,
thing. Yeah.
yes, there was so much good give and take. I felt like your chemistry together was amazing. Like even just like there was some like lighthearted moments where like you guys are almost like where like this the slapping match is like going back and forth. Not that it's like lighthearted when you're in the moment because you're getting slapped, but like
Yeah.
I mean like to observe,
He
you're
didn't
just
put
like,
a shirt on my face also, you know
oh
what I
yeah,
mean?
and he like
Yeah.
tucked you in. Yeah, that was
Yes.
really. I mean, again, like, it's just truly and, like, oh my god, when he did that, you're on the ground and, like, your arm is bent back and he
Oh,
does it
yeah.
and he just, like,
Twists. Yeah.
Turns.
twists.
Yes.
My god.
Yeah. Yeah,
There were a
not
lot
fun.
of times I wish, like, we could like, one day, like, record us watching matches because like, I am very, like, reactive, so half the time
That should
I
be
was
a
like
segment. That should
Oh,
be
yeah.
a segment.
we're gonna get there.
We
We're
gotta
gonna
put that
I found another like video hosting platform we're gonna switch to that'll allow us to do stuff like that. So it's coming.
dude, that's how I gotta come back. We gotta react to a match
Yes,
together.
Oh,
That's how
I'm
please. Oh my god,
for
please come
sure.
back.
Uh,
Yeah, but
I
that
was gonna
was, I
say.
mean, my genuine reaction. Go ahead, save
Oh
yours
no,
for
yeah,
me.
yeah. I was gonna say, like for me, it was like for me watching it, like I have a little bit more, background than Kills, but I could sense that he showed you respect by not like
by not
fighting
respecting
back.
me almost.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yes.
He's like, because it is very, I don't want to be like, there's just a way about the match where he's like, he's obviously like trying to like teach you a lesson or like show you that you're not like where he is. But by the end of the match, it is a very like he's not playing the little games anymore. You know what I mean? So there's like this evolution of like, oh, like at first he's underestimating you. And then he's like, oh, wait a minute. Like I actually have to like put something into this. And that's kind of like for me that's the story is like, oh, like he's somebody I underestimated and then got a respect for at the end.
At the end,
And
yeah.
that is a big deal with somebody of like that. So
And the thing is he doesn't do that for everybody. That's
right.
what was so crazy about it.
Mm,
It's like you can see you can find other matches where he wrestles some people and
He
he's just
bulldozed.
doing he bulldozes them. Like I really that's where the competition aspect of wrestling comes in. It's like I really had to bring it to Suzuki. I really had to do that for
Mhm.
real because I knew in my head if I just let him bulldozer me, then it's just going to be another match.
Right.
mm,
You know what I mean?
mhm,
So man, that match again to me was like the encapsulation of like all the hard moments. It was just like, here you go. When life throws you a bone, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that was it. And I will say like the moment that I had with Suzuki after the match will always be in my heart forever.
mm.
So
Good.
still really good.
I
Really good.
love
Awesome.
that. Amazing.
So we're coming up on time, but what do you have going on in the nearest future? Where can the people
Oh
find
man.
you? Let them
Yeah,
know.
like, what is next for Robert
This is going to
Yes.
come out this coming weekend, so this Saturday. So what
Okay.
you got? What you
So
got?
this Saturday I have I'm wrestling in Connecticut. I'll be wrestling a guy named CPA for Blitzkrieg Wrestling. Then the next day, I got New Texas Pro Wrestling, which is one of my favorite promotions. I love New Texas.
Wow.
Check them up. They have probably the best. They're probably the best promotion in Texas. I would look them up on IWTV. I'm going against a guy named Lil Evil. So
Oh,
other than
yeah.
that, other than that, I have CZW's Best of the Best, which
Mhm.
is their big tournament. It is their big staple tournament of the best wrestlers in the country are all going to be in one tournament. So, and I'm in
I
it.
saw
So
the like the
the
poster for
graphic,
that. It is stacked. Like,
yeah, it is. It is, and it's not even fully announced yet. There's going to be crazy names on
Heard.
there.
Love that.
Milo, come here, my dog. Other than that, come on, you want to see him real quick? I'll
Yes,
give him
yes,
a
I do.
shout
Yeah, yeah.
Please, please, please,
We're
please,
Here we
please.
always
go. Come
oh,
on.
Oh my god.
I love that.
Yeah.
Like, hey, hey.
Okay. It was like, I know where my angle is. I know
Okay.
my mark. Was like,
Know your
That's fantastic.
gotta give Milo some shouts.
oh my god,
Um,
Milo.
but yeah, man. Other than that, I have so much more stuff, but it'll mainly be in New Texas, CZW, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything else that you'll find, you can find it on my Twitter, which is at the Apex RM or X. So yeah, that's they call it X now.
X
It's
Twitter.
yeah, the Apex RM. And on Instagram, it's death2to Martyr because I'm going to die one day, like we all are. That's a little dark.
Mhm.
Sorry. That's it.
Perfect.
But yeah. Other than that, that's pretty much it. That's where you can find me.
All
Wow.
right, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on. We'd love to have you again. Just we
Please.
didn't even get to all the matches you had given us, and we'd love for you to
Yeah.
come back and further our education.
Maybe we
Um,
can even react to those.
yeah,
I would love to.
let's do it. And if
Please.
you're ever next time you're in Philly, let me know
I will.
because we have
Philly or New Jersey. Yeah,
whole
let us
studio
know.
we can
I okay.
pull
So
around.
I may be in New Jersey February. I'm sorry. Not February. May 17th.
Okay.
Okay.
Quote me on that. I may be. Have you heard of Ridgefield Park?
Hmm.
Yes.
Ridgefield Park, New Jersey. That's where
Yes.
I might be. Yes.
Okay.
So we'll.
Okay.
All right.
I will update you.
All right. Sounds
Okay. Let us know.
sounds great.
Okay.
Yeah, please
All
come back
right.
because I feel like I have so many millions of other questions, but you know, we'll save it
Yeah.
for next time.
We'll absolutely save it for next time. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. This was
Thank
so
you.
much fun. Really
The
appreciate it.
best. Seriously, the best.